must have heard of Alexander Graham Bell, right? The inventor of the telephone? But here's what most people don't know. Bell did way more than just creating one invention. He was a scientist, an innovator, and a dreamer whose curiosity led him to reach unimaginably great heights. Hi, I'm Sanchi, and today I want to share with you my experience at the Alexander Graham Bell National Historic Site, which we visited in the fall season of October last year. I'm here to walk you through Bell's inventions, his experiments, and his amazing journey through science and discovery. Let's go explore the legacy of Alexander Graham Bell, a genius whose life was about so much more than just the telephone. But wait! Remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Now we can get started. This museum is in Baddeck, Nova Scotia, a small town on Cape Breton Island where Bell enjoyed his summers. It's surrounded by lakes and rolling hills, and it's easy to see why he called it his favorite place on earth. The Alexander Graham Bell National Historic Site was opened in 1956. It's the only museum in the world completely dedicated to his life and inventions, which makes it pretty special. Walking into the museum felt like walking into a whole new world of science, engineering, and inventions. The red panels that you can see tell the entire story of Bell. It includes almost every significant event that had occurred in his lifetime. Things like his famous quotes, advancements in aeronautics, experiments with kites and airplanes, working with the deaf community, and many other things are mentioned. These panels, however, are just the beginning of this experience, to serve as an introduction to the museum's extensive exhibits. Alexander was born in 1847 in Scotland, and because his family was deeply involved in speech and sound, it inspired his passion for communication. Bell moved to Canada with his family in 1870. He married Mabel Hubbard in 1877, who was one of his former students. As we continued walking, we entered a room which was completely dedicated to all of Alexander's inventions that he had made in his life. There were so many that the list would go on forever. Not only were there so many inventions though, there was so much information to absorb. Every story behind every invention that Bell had ever made was all here in this room. Now, Alexander Graham Bell was the inventor of a lot of new things, but inventions he was famously known for are obviously the telephone and the hydrofoils, and making a video about him without mentioning these two inventions would just be wrong and make the video incomplete. So let's take a deeper dive into the history of the telephone and the hydrofoil. Let's start off with the telephone. It's actually an interesting story which occurred in the year 1876 when Alexander Graham Bell and his assistant Thomas Watson were working on a new invention, the harmonic telegraph, a device that could send multiple messages at the same time over one telegraph. They were actually just trying to improve the regular telegraph system, which could only send one message at a time. But while this was happening, they had accidentally discovered how to send actual voices through wires. And this accident was officially called the first working telephone after Bell's first famous words into a telephone, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you." There's an area in the museum where it shows the journey of how the telephone evolved from how it first looked to the modern phones that we have today. Just behind it, there's also a really cool station where you can try dialing numbers on an old school telephone, like a real one with the rotary dial. You spin the dial for each number and wait for it to click back. It was honestly super satisfying. It's such a fun hands-on way to see how people used to make calls before smartphones and touchscreens existed. It also gives you an opportunity to appreciate how far phones have come and how much better they may be in the future. Let's move on to hydrofoils Alexander Graham Bell also worked on. So, what are hydrofoils? Hydrofoils are basically a special type of boat that uses underwater wings called foils to lift the boat's body out of the water as it gains speed. This reduces drag and allows the boat to travel faster. In the early 1900s, Bell and his team began experimenting with hydrofoils on Breton Lake in Baddeck, Nova Scotia. Their most successful design was the HD-4, which used airplane-like propellers and hydrofoil wings to lift off the water's surface. The HD-4 set a world marine speed record of 70 miles per hour, which was incredibly fast at that time. One of the coolest parts of the Alexander Graham Bell Museum is this room dedicated to HD-4. It has a full-size replica in the room and it's huge. You can walk around it and see all the details. Another thing to add is that if you want to learn more, there's a movie screen in the room that plays a short documentary about HD-4 and how it worked. It gives you the full backstory on how Bell and his team built it and shows some old footage of it in action. It's an amazing experience, definitely worth checking out. There was also a section which showed real-life artifacts that Alexander used. His clothing, his room, his books, and notes can all be seen over here. It was truly fascinating. This was the last part of the museum, but if you want to grab a souvenir, there's a gift shop there too. Overall, I loved this trip. Visiting the Alexander Graham Bell Museum was like stepping into the mind of a genius. It's amazing how one person's curiosity, creativity, and determination can change the world. From inventing telephones to racing hydrofoil boats and imagining flight before it was possible, Bell never stopped dreaming, and neither should you. Thanks for coming along with me on this journey. I hope you learned something new and are inspired to keep asking questions, just like Alexander Graham Bell did. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And be sure to hit the bell to get notified when I post more videos just like this one. Thank you for watching, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!